Hello, welcome to Momentum. I'm your host, Robert Green. I'm happy today to be joined in the studio by Ms. Kylie Crosland. Kylie has been within the college for many years as an advisor and has recently moved to our Center for Advising where she's the lead advisor for the college. So Kylie, happy to have you here.
It's nice to be here, thanks.
So tell us about your new role as the Bagley College of Engineering lead advisor with the Center for Advising. What do you do there?
So I have a team of 8 advisors, and we're working with our first and second year students in the programs in engineering and working with them as they get acclimated to Mississippi State, get acclimated to the college, and start their programs and reach their goals.
Okay. Well, I mentioned you've been an advisor for a while. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you become an advisor, and what type of advising have you done?
Yes, so I started as an undeclared advisor in 2014 and worked with our incoming students as they were searching for majors, and then transitioned to work with our electrical and computer engineering students in the College of Engineering, and have been with them since 2017, and then just recently moved to this role this January.
Okay, so safe to say you know a thing or two about advising.
Yes. Before working with our students in an advising role, I also worked with the Faculty Senate on policies. So that was a really good start for me to learn all the university policies and help our students navigate through those.
Yeah. Well, I know we have some high expectations of our students in college, particularly in the Bagley College. We expect them to sort of keep up with what they need to do, what they need to take, and basically take ownership of gaining their education. Advisors can help with that, but in the end, advisors just give advice. We can't force students to do anything. So what are your expectations as an advisor? What are the expectations of those advisors who work for you in the Center for Advising in terms of what a student should be expected to do?
Yeah, so all of our programs are very lockstep and very prescriptive as far as what they need to take for their major to complete the degree programs. And so I think an expectation that we have is that students are aware of the classes that they need to take, and I think that's where the magic can happen in advising, is we can kind of move through the classes and then start talking about the value added experiences that students can have at Mississippi State to enhance their experience and reach their goals after graduation.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about that, because I get the idea that a lot of students come in, I think maybe especially freshmen come in with the idea of, well, I'm just going to talk to my advisor and they're going to tell me what courses to take, and then I'm done. But I think you and I both agree that that's part, and maybe even just a smaller part of advising. So tell us a little bit more about that other part of other than just classes.
Yeah, so a lot of times we're talking with students about what are their specific goals as far as their career pathways, and trying to point them to experiences that can help them prepare for that work experience after graduation. So all of the classes are preparing them for the theoretical knowledge and the experience that they need to start their careers, but education continues after graduation.
True, yeah. So if I'm coming to see you as a student for an advising session, what do you expect for me to come with and prepared to talk about?
I think most of all, prepared to be honest. Advisors are sitting with students in a kind of a judgment-free zone and armed with information about the university policies, about experiences that students can have at Mississippi State, and we just want to share that. And so the more students come being honest with themselves and honest with their advisors, we can help point them to what is best going to help them and their experience.
Yeah, I'm sure part of that is at least come prepared with an idea of what courses you need to take, so you can move past that into the other aspects of advising. So that's good. So I think this is more important for entering freshmen because I think it's probably used to high school where you go talk to a teacher or a counselor, and after that everything's taken care of for you. But here that's not the case. Once they leave an advising session, what are the expectations of a student? What does a student have to do after that advising session?
Usually there's some sort of action items. So maybe they need to fill out a form because they want to take classes somewhere else, or maybe we've talked about a study abroad option, and so they need to go talk with an expert in our study abroad options. Maybe it's actually registering for classes. So advisors can talk about classes, but they don't actually register students for the classes except for their very first schedule. So at that point, students get to pick what times and when they would have their classes, but they get to make that schedule.
Yeah, and I think the important part there is, unlike high school where they pretty much know who the students are and exactly what they're going to take, it's not always the case here. So after that advising session, I think those students need to go register for classes quickly so they don't fill up.
Yes, there's usually in some options of sections in some of our early classes, but as students move to the middle of their program or the end of their program, there's usually just one section of a class or maybe just two. And so trying to fit things together to make a good schedule for yourself and keep progressing in your program. It's important to get in there and get what you need when you're able to register for classes.
Yeah. So our advisors certainly have expectations of students and what they should be prepared to, but I think our students also have expectations of advisors. What should a student expect out of their advisor?
So our advisors have been trained in the curriculums. They have been trained as to policies of the university. They are aware of opportunities for students to help point them to opportunities at Mississippi State. So I think students can expect someone who is well prepared to guide them in their pathways at Mississippi State.
Okay. And I know you and other advisors do a lot of work before those advising sessions to get ready. Tell us, what do you typically do to get ready to meet with a student?
I look at their student record. I look at their attendance in classes, any grades that might be posted from this current semester. If that's an incoming student, I'm looking at their high school transcript or their community college or other school transcripts to try to think about what would be the best set of classes that they could take next semester, and then and just trying to be a listening ear and point students where they need to go.
So I think sometimes some of our students perhaps have maybe unrealistic expectations of what their advisor can do. Do you have any examples of some of the things you may have been asked to do for students over the years that go beyond the scope of that advisor-advisee relationship?
Most common is the registration piece.
Yeah.
I can't register you in classes, and if the class is full, I can't make another seat. I can point you to who to ask or how to ask, but there may not be physically room in the room. So those are usually the typical things. A lot of times they ask me to fill out forms that I'm not able to fill out because they're e-forms and it's got to have their touch on it. So those are just most common things that I can't do for a student, but I can point you to it.
Yeah, and I think that's important that here, that is one of the differences, is we're essentially dealing with adults at this point. So, you know, their permission is required to do a lot of things, and we can't do it for them. So, well, tell us a little bit about this new model the university has moved to, the centralized advising. Of course, we call it the Center for Advising, which is primarily advising freshmen and sophomore students. What are the expectations of that, and how does that process work?
So the university has invested in, the colleges have invested in, and the departments in this new advising model. I think as the largest college at the university and with some of the largest majors at the university, we had professional advisors, but they were very thin and in their the ability for students to access their advisor. Just the ratio of student to advisor was high. So this new model is reducing the caseloads for advisors so that students will have more access to their advisors. We have a new training model, which we've never had a university training model for advisors, so that's new with this in the center, and also some new technology. So our advisors are able to send some targeted communication to students so that all students aren't receiving things that maybe they don't apply to them. It's going to be targeted, like these students need this information.
Okay. So we're gearing up here, and about the time this airs, we're going to be in orientation session, or just kicking off some of our orientation sessions for entering freshmen primarily, but some transfer students as well. There's a lot of good information they get out of orientation, but part of that is meeting with their advisor and getting their class schedule. What should a student expect in that face-to-face advising, and what's the difference between what we do at orientation and the advising they're typically going to get later once they're here outside of orientation?
Mm-hmm. So before orientation, advisors are reaching out to talk with students about plans, and that's new in this new model where we're making efforts to communicate with students before they come to orientation and hopefully get schedules built for them. At orientation, it's a lot of people. That's really not the day to talk about hopes and dreams. It's really the day that we want to get a schedule for you that's workable for the fall, that meets you where you are, but then also propels you into your program, gives you a lot of options for your spring semester, and just is it appropriate for your major.
Okay. So I know a lot of our students are coming in with dual enrollment credit. They may have taken AP courses, but we don't have AP scores, so I know there's some anxiety about how do we handle that. So we got about half a minute left. What can you do to help calm those nerves and explain to those students how we're going to work with them on AP scores they may not have yet, or courses they may have taken and don't have grades for yet?
So there's some things we can avoid, like a humanity or a social science if you have a pending score in those. With math, it is just so lockstep in our program. So we're going to put you in math, and once those scores come in July, there's a lot of time between the time that those scores come in July and the start of term, so there's time to make some adjustments.
Okay. Well, Kylie, I know this is an interesting time with this new model, and I know you and others have worked hard to get some advisors lined up for all of our disciplines, and I know you're working hard overseeing them. So I think it's a bright future, so I'm looking forward to see what happens. But I want to thank you for what you're doing to help advise our students, and for taking the time to join us here in the studio today. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this edition of Momentum, and I look forward to seeing you the next time.